Okay.
All right. So we are back. Sorry about that. There was an issue with recording that video. So we're going to start back with getting over this tall hill that we had a bunch of steps, whole bunch of steps.
Yeah.
Fourth day.
Fourth day. Bodies are tired. We arrive to a gate. We have to wait like 40 minutes. They open it. And we have this pretty long hike, about an hour. There's a wall of rocks at the end. We have to like climb up it. And then we see Machu Picchu off in the distance.
Mm-hmm. You were going to say why it meant
so much. Mm-hmm. Because of everything we had to go through to get to that point. Like I am so exhausted. Our whole group is. I mean, there were people who were getting sick, altitude sickness, stomach stuff. Someone actually probably had COVID, but had fevers and stuff. Like, it was treacherous in so many ways, and just such a battle. And so it's like we had to fight to get there and see that. And I think that made it just very emotional. And I was so grateful. You know, there was relief, there was awe, there was, I was exhausted. So I'm like, I'm tired. So many feelings that it was just overcome with so many different emotions in that moment. But I remember thinking, I'm gonna scoot to the right a little. Remember thinking, that I was so proud of myself too in that moment, because I'm like, I could have thrown fits and cried. We could have done it the other way. We could have taken a train and a bus and did a day trip to see Machu Picchu, as we would see. We would when we got down there. But there was a part that was just so proud of myself and glad that I chose to do it this way, because it's something that hiking has shown me, is that I can do hard things. And that was something that I had to always repeat to myself when we would be doing hikes out here, as I would constantly doubt myself, and then just, it's a mental thing, like shut down, get mad at myself. I want to be faster. I want to be more agile. And here I am struggling and falling behind. And so just this past year of us hiking and then being able to do this trip, this 4-day hike, felt good. It was like my body is strong and capable of doing hard things, and we made it. Yeah. Now, we were, like Jermaine had said, he was thinking about going to the hotel and being done, and the Warriors were going to be playing, and I was excited about Machu Picchu, but that day 4, both of our stomachs were starting to fill away, and so I know
starting to feel congested.
Yeah, so we started to kind of get these symptoms, and we were like, oh no, but it's the last day, so it'll be okay. And now this part, it's all like a protected park. So like other parts, you could use the bathroom. Other parts of the hike, it's like, it's fine. Once we got into this protected area, it's like, you can't just like go pee anywhere. And that's all my body wanted to do. And I was like, oh no. Like, we're literally walking and doing, we get down, which was like 40 minutes to like get down to Machu Picchu. It's warm. And it's only like 8 o'clock at this point. It's like 8 in the morning.
It's early still.
And we felt like we had a full day. That was like a full day already. 3 to 8. We were like, okay, we're at Machu Picchu, and I have to use the bathroom so bad that I'm like, let's take our pictures. And they were like, we're gonna go down to the kind of the entry point of Machu Picchu down below, and then we're gonna come back. And I'm like, oh yeah, if we're coming back, I'll just go now. Like, I'll leave the group. I need to go to the bathroom. So unfortunately, I felt like that made me rush through it, but I don't think I missed out on the view or anything. I think I took it all in. We went down, and we were able to use the bathroom and rest. And then it wasn't over. It was like, now, guys, we're gonna go back into Machu Picchu and have a tour of it.
Right.
And that was hard.
Yeah, one reason why is because, for instance, when we went to Egypt and seeing the pyramids, when you see the pyramids, that's the pyramids, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's not like, okay, now we're gonna like walk all around the pyramids and
We
talk
didn't go
about the
inside.
pyramids, right? But it still wasn't right. Like, we didn't have a tour guide with us, and he wasn't explaining all the walls and everything, right?
Yeah.
So with that, there was a part that was okay. We're gonna see Machu Picchu. We're gonna like take pictures of it. We're gonna be around it. We're gonna be right next to it. We're gonna take more pictures. But we're getting on that bus, 30 minutes tops, right? But again, we had to talk about all the rooms. We talked about all the different positions of things, why it is this way, why is that shaped that way, why is it this high, what happens over here,
The different stones for
the
like
history.
It was
Annoying.
it was great information, but we are so, and it was hot actually.
It was hot that last day.
Particular day being in Machu Picchu, the site was hot, and so we're sitting down in the sun. They're talking. Our stomachs are kind of doing stuff.
Mm-hmm.
We're kind of
noses are kind of doing stuff.
Noses, so it's kind of like
coughing,
ooh, and it would kind of come in waves, like the stomach stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Be okay, and I'm like, oh, that felt weird. So you're just kind of like, I don't know what my body is going through. I just hope it can hold it together,
right,
until we get back.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was like the culmination of the hike. We finished up Machu Picchu, and then there's the trek home. The getting home we were grateful for buses and trains. So there was a bus ride from Machu Picchu to the train station. There was we took a bus ride to the town, mm-hmm. and at the town we all gathered for lunch.
And the food was delicious.
Food was great.
It was awesome.
We were tired.
Food is awesome.
And then we had like 20-30 minutes to like explore the town. So
mm-hmm.
we went and explored the town. And then we had to meet up to get on the train. And the train was like 1.5-hour, 2-hour train ride. So
mm-hmm.
we had to do that. And I fell asleep. So that was actually nice. Fell asleep on the train ride back. Get off the train. And we had to walk with all of our belongings. It was not close, and it was quick. Do you remember that? It wasn't far, but it wasn't like simple. Like, okay, you get off the train and you just go here. Like, we found our tour guide, and it's the automatic feeder. Our tour guide's like, let's go. And so we're like trying to keep up with him, moving through the streets. Right.
So it was a few blocks away.
It was a few blocks, and then you're kind of out of it. We get on another bus we go for quite a while in that bus.
That was a few hours.
And then they're like, okay, so now the streets are smaller in Cusco. So
we can't take these big buses.
We can't take this big bus, so we're all going to break off into smaller like vans.
Mm-hmm.
So they're like figuring out which hotels, hostels, and stuff people are going to. We split up, and then we get into these other vans, and it's about 6 p.m., maybe 6:30. We finally get to our hotel
about 7:30.
Around 7:30, and so 3:30 a.m. I mean, that was we hiked, we saw Machu Picchu, we toured Machu Picchu, and then we did this like long journey back home with all of our belongings. Like you have to like carry all your stuff, and we make it back to the hotel, and it was just like, oh my gosh, the Warriors are playing.
In 30 minutes.
Right. And luckily, they had it on the channel. It was in Spanish. It was fine.
Because YouTube TV didn't work over there. So I have YouTube TV on my phone that I watch all of the basketball games at on my phone at home. But they didn't have it over there. So I had to look for like ESPN. And fortunately, they had the Warriors game in Peru. So I was quite grateful.
So that was great. And
and we won.
Yeah. We ordered room service.
Mm-hmm.
And, we got our food. I was like, I'm going to have a beer.
Mm-hmm.
Got a beer. Didn't finish the burger. Didn't finish the
really
beer.
Have much of an appetite.
That was a sign.
Yes. So, but my appetite actually started fading the third day out there. So my right leg is super sore and my appetite started to fade. We go to dinner. I'm like, okay, cool, about to eat dinner. And then I'm like, I don't want any.
Right.
For no reason. It wasn't like, it was weird. It wasn't like I was like super hungry, then I lost my appetite. It was like, not only am I not really hungry, like I'm just not even like enticed by the food right now. So that was the third day. Going to the fourth day, wasn't particularly hungry for breakfast, wasn't particularly hungry for lunch. I ate my lunch like crazy though. I remember that. I killed that lunch.
Mm-hmm.
But that evening, when she said room service, my mind said, yeah, that's not a luxury. So it was a luxury. It is a luxury. But part of the reason why it wasn't a luxury was because we didn't have the energy, the health, so on and so forth, to be like, oh man, like let's just go downstairs and grab some food. It became more of like a medical necessity that we had room service. Room service at that point was a necessity so that we get stuff into our body.
That room turned into a hospital room. So
and we were 80 years old.
I almost didn't make it through the Warriors game. I think like fourth quarter, I started to go, and Jermaine had to kind of wake me up when we were about to win. And so I was like, so I got to see it. I got, they're celebrating in Boston. They're being interviewed. They're setting up the stage. I'm like, great, they won. And we made it. I think that was the big thing. It's like, are we going to be able to watch this game? Go to sleep. And then we wake up the next day and both of us are like, we're sick.
Clearly we're sick.
We're sick.
In a foreign country.
And so, we wake up. Wait, did we? No, I think we did do the buffet breakfast. So we we just weren't feeling well. I think we were congested, tired, sore. So sore. Our legs were sore.
I was starting to feel like I had a fever. I was starting to feel like I had a fever.
I wasn't.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and my stomach was starting to hurt. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't hurting in a way that felt familiar. Like, for instance, when I felt hungry, it didn't feel like I was my normal hunger. It felt like I was hungry.
Yeah.
Let's say, like I was like, it was like half of the intensity of hunger, but it was like clear that something was happening in my stomach that I should probably eat. But it was like, but I'm not like hungry. Mm-hmm. And so, like I said, my appetite was going down. I was definitely constipated by this time. I know we don't want to talk about this, but this is important. I was definitely constipated at this time. But it's also something we talked about yesterday, where it's like, I feel like that's how it is whenever we go to a foreign country. Like, my stomach is like, I'm not really here with you on this, so you can have all the fun, but we're not about to eat a whole lot, and we're definitely not about to poop a whole lot.
Right. Our bowels are just like, no, this isn't familiar.
Yeah, I'm not sitting on that toilet.
See you guys later. So, so we were able to go down to the lobby because we had breakfast included in our hotel stay. Mm-hmm. And so that was nice. We went down there, ate. Similarly, my stomach, I was having a hard time distinguishing between like if I was hungry or if something was just like happening in my stomach. Mm-hmm. So everything in me goes, I shouldn't eat because this feeling doesn't seem like it's going to mix well with food. If I
thought I had worms. I thought I had parasites. Now, I didn't want to talk about it, so I never said this till right now.
You never said
But I was definitely thinking I had parasites. I thought like what we were feeding was the people inside of us. And I was like, I don't know if we should eat because all they're going to do is grow.
He did not share that with me.
Didn't share that, but definitely was thinking something's living inside of here, and that's what's hungry.
But what kind of was good still was like, we would experiment, right? We would eat a little something and then it would like tame it. It's like, then it would like be okay. And then we're like, oh, it did want to eat.
My point exactly. It was a thing.
And it's like, that's weird. That's not what hunger usually feels
it's
like.
Not what hunger feels like.
So we were dealing with that. We're like, okay, we don't feel good, but we know like something in us does want to eat. And so we need to feed it something. And then on top of that, so he started, to have fevers and overall, like, we were really fatigued. I wasn't getting the fevers, but I was still going through stuff, like not feeling well, energy was low. So for like 3 days after we got from Machu Picchu,
we got back on Thursday evening. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, really. I mean, every day we were pretty much in the bed mostly, and we ate at home at the hotel mostly, but we would try to get out and do something each day.
Yeah, but over the weekend we didn't go anywhere, did we? Or we still tried to?
I'm sure we probably, went to a restaurant or something.
We went to the pharmacy. That was our first
Museum.
outing. Right. We went to the pharmacy. We got medicine. That helped me. It was the equivalent. The one that I got was the equivalent to like Sudafed or like Dayquil here.
But it wasn't called Sudafed or Dayquil.
No, it's
so it's
different.
all in Spanish.
Right.
Yeah.
So communicating in Spanish, looking things up on the phone, making sure, we know what's going into our bodies. We got laxatives because of the constipation, and I was nervous because I'm like, we're sick and I don't want to lose a lot of fluids or, things like that. So I wasn't taking them. Jermaine did. You think it helped?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, that's the thing. The first day it didn't do anything to my stomach. I didn't feel like I needed to use the restroom at all. The second day, I didn't take any more until after I had to start to use the bathroom, but I only used the restroom a little bit.
Yeah.
I think the third day I took it again, and I had to use it that same day, so I was glad about that. But yeah, even when I did use it, it wasn't like, okay, we're back to normal. It was like, that helped a little bit.
Yeah.
I just didn't want to take too much and then go to a restaurant, right, and not make it to the restaurant. So I was thinking, like, if I'm going to take it, I want to take it when I'm at home, and I want to use the bathroom before we, like, try to go, like, to a museum. So we,
we're kind of nursing ourselves back to health in that hotel room.
And she is acting like, now this is a theme for her whole life. She's acting like she's more fine than she is. Not just more fine than me. Now, we get that part. She's going to be like, oh, yeah, like, he's hecka sick, and I'm not. But she's acting like she's fine. So she's getting calls from her parents. She's calling her parents, talking to Michaela on the phone, like, hey, how's it going over there in Puerto Rico? I'm doing fine. Jermaine's feeling a little bad, but, I just got, like, a little congestion. She hangs up the phone and, like, throws up all over the place.
I don't throw up.
She doesn't throw up, but she's clearly more sick in reality than she's communicating to other people,
it is true.
Even to myself.
Because why worry people? Like, I'm going to survive. I just don't need to, like, worry.
We're in Peru. You might not.
Family. So we are, nursing ourselves. And then there's the altitude. So we are so fatigued. Just like one of the days, like, let's shower, let's put our clothes on. We're feeling okay, right? Okay. Mind you, we've just been sitting in a bed for like 48 hours. So we're like, we feel like we could shower and maybe put some clothes on. Man, we both shower, and we are probably moving so slow.
Right.
And we get dressed, and we're like, are you tired? I'm tired.
Listen, literally having to take a break after putting all your clothes on.
Yeah.
To, like, catch your breath. Like, we literally felt exhausted. Or winded from putting clothes on. And
so we're in Cusco. That's where our hotel is. And Cusco is actually higher elevation than Machu Picchu. So Cusco... is like 11,000 feet. So we're at this high altitude. We're compromised with this sickness that we have, which we don't know what it is.
So with that being said, this is not one sickness. Now, we are imagining what I'm imagining because this is what I brought medicine for. I brought medicine for allergies. So I'm thinking I'm sneezing because of allergies. I think I'm coughing because it's a common cold. I think that I'm constipated for whatever is going on with the food. And then that's separate from me not having an appetite. Like, that's a whole other thing. Right. So we're literally taking...
from being at that altitude.
So we're still taking the altitude medicine.
We're taking altitude. I brought Imodium because I'm thinking we're going to have diarrhea, not constipation. So we had no diarrhea. So I had Imodium, I had our allergy medicine, I had ibuprofen, and that was the medicine I brought, and that wasn't what we needed.
Right.
I did bring some Dayquil.
Yes, you did.
And so, but we used all of it
on the hike
while we were hiking.
Yeah. We still had allergy medicine by the end of it, so that helped out with like the sniffling symptoms. Whenever I took that, I felt like it helped out with my nose running. But this is one thing that we got to talk about with the bathroom. First thing is the toilet paper is trash. Second of all, the toilet paper has to be thrown in the trash because you don't want to flush it down the toilet because their water system at that particular place. But I want to say even in Lima, right?
Everywhere. Yeah, everywhere you don't want to flush. There's garbage cans, receptacles in the restroom for you to put your toilet paper.
Right.
It's hard when you're sneezing or you're having a runny nose and you're not having like tissue that can like absorb well.
Yeah, so you have to get a bunch.
Yeah.
So when we they were like asking, hey, you want room service? We're like, no, like don't come and clean our room because it's a mess and we accept that part. But can you bring like 5 rolls of toilet paper because we just need to blow our nose. And well, we can't really poop, right? So we aren't really wiping our butts. We just need to blow our nose. Can you give us a bunch of toilet paper to blow our noses? The other thing that was funny was the shower floor. The tub on the floor was like 2 feet high, right? So like you literally step into the tub and you're like by the ceiling, right? The ceiling is like right here. So you don't think about this, right? This never crosses your mind until you gotta wash your armpits, right? So you wash your armpit and you're like, boom. You're like, God dang it. Why is that? And then it dawns on you, right, that everybody like on the street is like 5 feet tall, right? Or like, max. Or like sometimes they're like shorter than that, but nobody's like a midget or like a dwarf. What do we call it?
Little people.
Right, little people, right? Like nobody is that, like it's not a condition. It's just like everybody's like pretty shorter. So that's what it started to make sense. I'm like, oh, this is why like the floor of the shower is so high. But this is why we gotta like wash our armpits so like funny. This. You can't like all the way in the air.
But luckily, the being sick, we still managed to get out and explore. We walked to the pharmacy that one day. We stayed indoors for some time and then ventured out just to walk around outside and sightsee. So we stayed pretty close.
The pharmacy is really packed with a whole bunch of hair and hygiene products. We walked in, I expected a wall full of medicine and whether it's allergies and then cough and then flu and then congestion, it was like hair stuff,
shaving cream. So it's like it's all like personal hygiene, and so it's actually like this in and probably outside of the US. You have to talk to a pharmacist to get medicine. And that is kind of like, because they provide education, they're trained. And so you explain your symptoms and they go, here's what we have. Here's how we can help treat this. And so that's how it was there. There was no like, okay, here's like what they call over here, OTC, over the counter. You can get ibuprofen, you can get certain things over the counter. There, nothing is over the counter. You have to talk to the pharmacist. And so that was an experience, especially, with I can do like conversational Spanish to a certain degree. And then I'm like, oh my gosh.
It's like medical Spanish.
This is like explaining symptoms and then them explaining things. And then what they have, right, it's not called what we call it here. And so there's a lot of Googling and searching things. But I feel like we figured it out.
And they didn't give us boxes, right? I feel like they gave us like portions.
So it's like, well, how many days supply do you want? And then they have like this large, bulk situation, and then they break off however many days that you
like the sheets. So if you had like a sheet of medicine, I'm like, okay, this will be for like this many days or whatever.
Yeah, you don't get
and I'm like, women, if you don't give us a box.
But the box was like huge. So, we figured it out. We made do. Cusco was a very cool city. We walked everywhere there for the most part. There was at one point when I wanted to go to a San Pedro market, which is like their huge market they have there. I was like, okay, I want to get out and do things, but I know like walking takes up a lot of energy, and the concern was I want to maximize like the time we have, and so it's like if we walk there, right, I'm gonna be done, and then we want to go back to the hotel. So we did take a taxi to the market, and But once we got to the market, we walked and we kind of checking in with each other. How are we feeling?
Mm-hmm.
Then from the market, we did Plaza de Armas first, actually. One day.
That was first.
And then we did the market, and then we walked from the market. And on our walk from the market to the plaza, that's when we came across seeing Tupac Amaru.
Right.
Everywhere. And
not everywhere, but there were a couple of Tupac Amaru statements, like the name, like on the
shops,
wall.
And then I was seeing it on buses.
Right. Now, because I've seen so many Michael Jordan emblems on the back of people's windshields in the back of their cars, I was thinking, okay, this is just like, you know, how stuff happens in other countries, right? You just have like random, like, you know, names from American superstars, just places, right? So I didn't make nothing of it. I took a picture of it, posted it on Facebook, like, hey, look, y'all, we just saw Tupac Amaru right here, listed on this thing. So of course, you know, people are like, well, you better go find him because I'm sure he's over there, right? So we walk out like, no, like he's not there. Like we walked in and we made sure it was nothing but baby clothes. But the reality was that the next morning, people had commented, you know, I got my revolutionary friends, and people are like, no, like that's where Tupac gets his name from. And I was like, you're probably right, because Tupac is not Swahili, right? Like I had never looked up like Swahili names and ran past like Kwame and then Tupac, right? And so I was like, snap, like you're right. And they were like, yeah, no, it's in Quechua. You're like, right, because we were just talking about Quechua when we were talking about Machu Picchu and the language of the people. The Incan people spoke before the Spanish came. And so it was a whole thing that Tupac Amaru was a name. And I'm sure that it was the name of a person. I am questioning, so I actually got to figure this out, because there were like people who had Tupac Amaru as like their middle name. But it was like a bunch of people. So it wasn't, I'm not even sure if it was just like a person. It could have been something like a tribe or a family or something like that. Like I still have to figure that out. Yeah. But it definitely sparked my interest. I said, I got to figure out more about this. Why is Tupac Amaru here? So I researched it. They said that he has a plaza and that we could go see it, and it's not too far from us. So we walked to it, kind of walked the wrong direction, but we did find it, and there was a statue, and they have these plaques of the other people with Tupac Amaru as one of their names. Yep. And apparently he was a revolutionary who fought in the 1500s against the Spanish when they were colonizing that area. And he also was fighting on behalf of the slaves that were being brought to do the work of the Spanish from Africa. Mm-hmm. And so that's put me on this whole trip. She's been having to deal with it for the last couple of weeks. It's been Tupac playing everywhere. I'm researching Afeni Shakur, why she named him that, you know, what was his childhood like? What was her childhood like? Like just trying to figure out everything about the Black Panthers. The reality is that it was just so interesting. I mean, we went to Peru solely for Machu Picchu, maybe find out a little bit more about cocaine. But the reality was that Tupac Amaru is like part of this trip. Like we have to address the fact that his name came from this person that is from Peru. And that definitely was a highlight.
And Cusco, because it wasn't in Lima.
Where it particularly was,
so we were in Cusco. We were able to go and find the park that had his statue. So
there was a mural that had a painting of him,
that was up the street from our hotel. That,
literally like a block away.
The battle, and so that was pretty cool. And that's kind of, I just planned that Inca Trail and left. We had all these days there, and we're just kind of like, we'll see. Mm-hmm. And I was glad that I did that. Usually I plan a lot more in detail, just kind of like tours and other things. We actually were going to go see Rainbow Mountain, but we weren't feeling well. So
me in particular, my stomach was bothering me.
So we skipped that, but we were still able to, walk around the city. It was Inti Rama, so that was the Sun Festival is the 24th of June, but we were there the week leading up to it. And so there were all these festivities. So when we went to the San Pedro market and walked back to Plaza de Armas, just thinking like all the restaurants there so we can like go over there and eat. We happened upon a parade, and we were like, oh my gosh, like the streets were closed off. It looked so different from when we were there the day before. They were there was a stage.
All the people.
There were people in in their attire based on the region of Cusco that they're from. There were all these different regions, so they were representing their region or province and doing their dances or the clothing. It was awesome. So we hung out and watched that. Then we went to a restaurant that was actually a Japanese Peruvian fusion. Oh, so good. So then we were able to watch from the window there, and we had tea, and I had the lomo saltado, but it was like udon noodles. So it was like, it was magic. That was so good. And so, we got to see that, take a picture with the alpaca that was just walking in the street, the lady.
Making some money out there.
Yeah, just kind of walking around, and like, I think that was something that felt so cool to do, was just to take in the city and like people living there, people working, like to experience it in that way. Like when we were in Egypt, we never just walked around by ourselves. We went to a mall. So that was like the thing that we did. Like we took Uber to the mall and walked around. But we didn't like go walk around the neighborhoods or like where people were working and stuff. Everything was like guided towards here. It felt very much like appropriate, I would say, to like just kind of head out and walk and like explore. And so that, and it felt safe. It was clean. It just felt very walking friendly. And so we were able to experience that in Cusco. Then we flew to Lima, and I felt like similar vibes. Like it felt safe and nice to just like walk around and take in the city. We didn't do any tours in Lima, but I did look up on a blog, and I think it was called, I forget what the blog was called, but it said like, if you have 24 hours in Lima, like these are our recommendations. And so I just took some of the tips from that blog, and we Ubered everywhere and walked around, and we saw parks, we ate, just kind of walked around and took in the scenery, and really, we did some parks. We were on the coast. The weather was very mild, like it reminded us of the Bay Area of Oakland. Foggy, see the water there.
Foggy like San Francisco, temperature like Oakland.
Yeah, and just like, it's like a city. And so it looked very much like there's traffic, there's kind of stores,
murals. They had a real bus line.
Yeah.
I say that because when we were in Cairo, that was not a bus line. That was a van.
Yeah.
And those, I felt like it was more like privately owned, or like, a bunch of individuals who get vans and they just pick up people on the freeway, which is not an exaggeration in Egypt. But over there they have like a bus, and people were, hopping on and hopping off.
Yeah, they had. Just
like, it really felt like a lot like San Francisco.
Yeah. So in Cusco, it was much more like, they had buses, but they were kind of like smaller, packed with people, just kind of driving all over. It was a lot more organized in Lima, along the freeway. Like the buses ran along the center in their own lanes with their own stops. So it was kind of like how BART can run along the freeway. That's kind of how their bus system was. But yeah, we walked around, we ate, we went to a museum there. Called the Larco Museum. It was so nice. Ate at a restaurant there.
Nice.
So nice.
Nice food.
I mean, the food was good. The decor, just the ambiance, everything was beautiful. Then we went to this fountain. They call it a water park, but it's this kind of amusement location where they have all these fountains, and we were like, oh, that would make so much sense if there was music here, and like they had stuff going along, because it's like huge fountains doing all these different things, different colors.
Doing some different things, right? Because until the show starts, then it's just kind of like chill. You got a bunch of fountains, and they're just like, you have one color at a time, and it changes from green to blue to red and stuff like that.
They have like vendors, so there's like, you could buy food, like popcorn and fries and different things. And then a show starts. Mm-hmm. And it's in the main fountain. Mm-hmm. And it's literally like there's projecting like images through the water. So it's like the water's the screen, and it's changing colors and doing different things. And they're showing like the history of Peru in this show. Mm-hmm. Like you see the Incas, you see, the indigenous people, you see the Spaniards coming in, where you see like what they have, and then the Spaniards come and their fight and battle, and then like the culmination is like Peru's independence. And it's this like 20-minute show, and we're like, oh my gosh, mm-hmm. This is so cool. Like, they just have this here.
Right.
And people, it's like families are there. Like it's all
Peruvians.
For the kids. Right. It's like kids are there running around. They sell like all the light stuff and things that light up, balloons, and kids are having a good time. Mm-hmm. Parents are having a good time. People are eating, drinking, watching this, and we're like, oh my goodness, mm-hmm. Like, we are not free.
Right.
Like, we don't
know nothing about this.
We haven't, I guess, the closest thing we have is like today's the 4th of July. Mm-hmm. And so there's the parade about, independence, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
But who relates to that, right?
Especially in the Bay Area.
It was like, these are a people here who go like, this is our history, and
this is our land,
and like, we fought for this, and like, here we are, and like bringing their children and stuff. And it's just like, here it's so polarizing, and like, it does not apply to everyone, right? Like,
right.
4th of July comes, and we're kind of like, well, what are we celebrating?
Yeah, we're supposed to do
I've never
barbecue,
right? And it's like, and then who's proud of the history? So it's like, if we even talk about the history,
everybody gets
then
offended.
We learn like
whole debate,
right? Emancipation didn't even happen until way later, and it's like, what are we
trying
celebrating?
to get rights and all those things. So I made a post this morning about it. I think I tried to make a post about it a couple weeks ago too, when I first saw that. But what it really just dawned on me was that independence is a whole thing that progress, that emancipation, even that civil rights is not, right? What we're fighting for in America as people of color, whether we're Black or not, is trying to be on equal footing as the settlers. Now, I say settlers because I think about a video I was watching this morning about people in Kenya fighting for their independence, and they're like, well, it's our land, but there's all these people who are there that are from Europe that are like, but we've been here for generations, honestly, and so we feel like it's our land too. And it's like, well, you guys came here, but it's like not technically yours. And so again, as African Americans, this isn't necessarily quote unquote our land, but at the end of the day, we're here and we're trying to get stuff, from the people who are in power. But at the end of the day, independence is being able to say, our people are in power over the land that our people have, are from, and so forth. And so again, this whole, what they call it, transatlantic slave trade created a very complicated situation. Immigration also creates a very complicated situation, especially when we're not talking about indigenous folks from, Central America coming up into Northern America, but we're talking about people from other continents coming here saying, hey, like, I want to be an American too. It's like, oh gosh, like, this is just so increasingly complicated. But having independence was something that there were few groups that fought for that in America. And even in the Black liberation struggles, there were some folks who were like, no, we're not trying to have equal rights in America. We're trying to have our own space, right? We're trying to have our own land so we can have our own government and have our own things. And so I feel like being in Peru, seeing that as something that people can literally teach their children on at an amusement park, if you will, was definitely something that was, definitely reminded me of what freedom could be like, would be like, the different variations of what freedom is, and how to some degree we should still be longing for those types of days. So we're definitely thinking about moving away from America one day.
From the United States.
Right.
Yeah, so, just what traveling does, it opens your mind, it widens your perspective. And I think that is the most beautiful part about traveling and what we gain from these trips is we learn so much about different people and their cultures and their liberation stories. I mean, Egypt had those stories as well, right? And just kind of the struggle, the battles that they fought, where they're at now, and so, yeah, I think it was, so much of, we didn't really have a lot of expectations, but we went in and it was a whirlwind of things. It was hiking and nature and crazy views and learning about, ancient civilization of the Incas. And then it was, Peru's current history, or, how they got, independence from Spain. It was the current people and the markets and how people are living. It's getting to see, I think just a certain pride that people have for their country and their space makes me think about the struggles we have here just with I'm thinking about cleanliness, and we hear that about other countries too. Like Japan is a place right here, like things are really clean. I'm just thinking of like places, Lima or Peru in general, like nothing felt like, oh gosh, watch where you're stepping. Let me say this, there are stray dogs everywhere and stray cats everywhere. And I never stepped on poop once. I've stepped on more poop here.
Right.
In the U.S.
I didn't think about that.
Right.
There was no poop.
There's no trash. I mean, and it's not like there were trash cans everywhere. Like, true. I just wasn't seeing just smell-wise. I'm like, nothing smells bad. I can walk through Oakland or San Francisco and be like, disgusting. Like there's piss everywhere.
Even in Jack London, right? Jack London is straight funky. Like, why?
Why does it smell so bad? But like I was telling Jermaine when we were walking through the parks, which are really well maintained, there are people there. They were dressed in like these blue overall or like long outfits. And they were like public works, like we're cleaning and making sure things are, look a certain way and look nice. And I feel like that comes with pride in your space.
And not just how much money you're making per hour.
Yeah, we take care of our home because it's ours. And sometimes some people do. But it just makes me think like how we take care of a neighborhood, of a community, of spaces reflects our attachment to it and our relationship to it. Like, if you're proud to be somewhere and like this is your home, as Peruvians, as Egyptians, as Japanese people, they're like, this is ours. Like, we've had it for centuries. We've fought for it. And, this is our home. And I feel like the U.S. is so different. It's home to many different people. It's not really, even if you've been here for centuries, right? Take, Black people, it's like, is it ours? Like, it's been brought here against our will, enduring hundreds of years of enslavement. And now, now there's institutionalized racism. We're still dealing with stuff today. And it's like, very few people feel proud to be here. And I think that reflects our attitude to spaces and cities and things like that. Like, so going to other countries and kind of seeing how people take care of each other, even the homelessness. Like, we were seeing, poor people, but people who are working in markets, who are, I guess we would call hustling, but like,
wasn't a bunch of homelessness.
There weren't people like, maybe we don't know like where the homeless go in Peru, and we're tourists, and you could say that, but we did quite a bit of walking around, and it felt safe. Like, it was nighttime when we were walking around in Lima. We're like following our GPS kind of, because it kind of works, kind of doesn't out there. So we're like walking down streets and stuff, and it's like, it's quiet. We're walking down the street, not many people on it, but it's, there's not people shooting up drugs. There are not people.
And this is Peru.
Yeah, like, it's.
Where the good cocaine comes from. Like, it didn't seem like it was like drugs everywhere, meth everywhere.
Downtown area. So yeah, it was definitely an experience, and I think, traveling is important to see, what's possible in different places. And honestly, what we're missing here. I think, the peace that you can feel somewhere else. I don't think we ever walked in anywhere and felt like, we
should leave.
Right. People aren't trying to serve us. People are like, we don't want you here.
Right. And honestly, being an African American, right? Definitely didn't see a lot of African Americans on the trip. Didn't see a lot of Black people, period, on the trip. I did see, there was one guy that I saw when we were at Machu Picchu that, because a lot of people are just tourists, and they're, she said that they were probably from Brazil.
Brazilians, who were,
But, definitely was the only Black person hiking Machu Picchu. When everybody was lining up to get through the gate, I was like, I don't see like a group of Black folks that are like trying to get through. And so, just being in that space and not feeling particularly, treated differently, looked at differently, or people like being surprised to see me because I'm Black or anything like that. It was definitely a place where it felt pretty neutral to be African American. I remember even in Egypt, there were some times where it was like, I'm Black, and everybody's, the salesmen are like, hey, brother from another mother, Black queen or Black king, and then what else was that? Brown sugar. So the thing is that they'll, acknowledge in a certain way, but over there I just felt like I was like one of them.
Exactly, and it makes me think like in Peru and in Cusco in particular, like they are pretty dark, okay? So it makes me think about colorism and things like that, like seeing someone who is brown is not like, oh my gosh, like there's a dark-skinned person here. In Egypt, there was they were lighter, so more around my color, and so I felt like I actually fit in. Like that day where I had the hijab on and I was all covered and stuff, I was like, I fit in.
Right.
But when being in Peru, everybody's brown and like dark brown. Like there wasn't a lot of like lighter. I would say in the mountains they were particularly darker than on the coast in Lima. But maybe I feel like that being a thing, like we are brown people, like we're darker, and maybe it's stranger to see lighter people than to see someone who's darker. Like maybe someone being brown is more familiar than people being really light. Like I remember even like all the sunscreen application and stuff. Like they were, I was like, are the porters applying sunscreen? Like, no, they are not. I'm like, they are dark.
Right. But yeah, that actually brings up the fact that, our skin interacts with the weather differently over there. Our hair, our scalp does, I never really felt like, this was also what I experienced in Ethiopia, in Egypt, was like, I don't feel like my scalp gets as dandruffy as it does here in North America. I felt like yeah, just like the texture, like I didn't feel like my skin got as dry as it did here. Like my ears here get like particularly dry and like produce like a lot of earwax down there. I felt like it was just like not even a concern or a question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting, like how our bodies, with the different climates, and feeling like our bodies are more like in balance. Like we're like, oh, like skin feels better here, hair feels better here. Like, okay, that's interesting. Like it's not home. Like home is over here, but at home we're like constantly moisturizing and like dealing with like scalp stuff and probably allergens and things like that that our bodies are reacting to. And it's like, and I was joking, like when I did the like ancestry.com stuff, I have a lot of indigenous I guess DNA in me from like all over Central and like South America. And so I was joking, like Jermaine's like, he got bit a few times,
right.
And I didn't get
only
bit.
A few.
Yeah, only a few, which is not bad. And I was like, I didn't get bit once, and I was like, maybe it's because of my DNA. I'm like, there is a part that goes like, I'm a mixture of many things, and so it's like I go somewhere, and it's like, oh, maybe it does work out being here. Like maybe my skin does better, my hair does better in more humid places. When I go to Puerto Rico, it's like skin feels good, hair feels good. Like this is a good right. climate.
Good for me.
Just not used to the heat part, but the humidity, is good. But so it's all interesting. It was overall eye-opening. We learned a lot. It has us thinking about where we're going next, and also looking up like opportunities to live somewhere else. And I think about that, like peace. Like we all deserve to live and be somewhere where we can relax and live and experience life and culture and people and food in a way where we're not feeling unloved, unappreciated, constantly under attack, not respected. I think those are a lot of things that we feel here in this country that's normal for us. Like we've lived here our whole lives, and then so have our parents, and it's like everyone kind of same story for a long time. So it's like, do we want our story to continue in this way, or do we want, we have agency and we have these options, right, to travel and experience other things. And it's like we deserve, to be somewhere where we feel, at peace and safe. So.
Yeah. I mean, I know for me in particular, that growing up and going through high school and college and then everything subsequent about Black Lives Matter, Trayvon Martin, Oscar Grant, all that stuff, a lot of it had me feeling like, the history of this country is in some respects despicable, right? A lot of it, I mean, we're still having fights about what should we tell our children about what happened, whether we're talking about Black children or white children, right? Because it's hard to to talk about it in any way that is proud about how it happened and what happened exactly. And we have different news sources and stuff to the extent to which it's hard to explain what's happening currently. And so one of the concerns that I have, because it was how I felt when I started to learn a lot about these different things, is raising children that have to come into some type of eye-opening experience that sheds light on how horrible this country started, began, and the traces of those different behaviors and thoughts and feelings about different people and so forth. So it's something that I would love to be able to say, hey, we're living here because this history and this land is so much better. And so, we have family in America, in North America, and they're like this. But the reality is that if you grew up there and, this would be in some respect, our story, you know, and it's like, you know, how can we create different stories? Of course, you know, there's a part that goes like, do we have to move? There's another part that goes, you know, is it just possible to continue to have an ongoing or a changing story rather than just as this is just it, you know, it starts with slavery, right? Or we got to like, well, it starts way back before slavery, but there's a part where it goes like, can we say, but we had some families that said, forget this. We're going to be in this place that is more connected to these folks and in this type of history and so on and so forth, because this is something that is more, you know, proud to be a part of and want to contribute to that. So, yeah, definitely wasn't planning on all of this to be part of what we got out of going to Peru, but it nonetheless is.
Yeah. So, well, Stay tuned.
Yes. Thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening.
You know, and there will be more episodes. You know, hopefully I can drag her into having more episodes more regularly. But, you know, for now, thanks again for listening. And we'll talk with y'all soon.
All right.
Peace.
Cats were so dead our whole time.
Are they over here?
Yeah.